Hey, Mike with Step-by-Step Programming here. Today we're going to learn how to create an app without using the storyboard. So this is something that a lot of industry professionals, disagree on. Should you use storyboard? Should you not? So my general experience is if you have a complicated system, a complicated app that uses a lot of views, like transitions between views, and you want everything to be more fluid, then it's good to use programmatically set UI constraints, which we're going to do in this video. Otherwise, for more simple apps, I think that the storyboard is a great way to go, and it's really user-friendly. It's a little bit simpler, but sometimes it'll be like you forget to check a box in the interface builder, and it screws up. So I don't know, it's got its goods and bads, there's plenty of videos on that kind of stuff. But let's learn how to do it. So we'll start out with the steps that we're going to use here. We're going to initialize the window in the AppDelegate, and then we're going to modify the app's deployment info, which is found in like the basic, the app folder. And then we're going to create constants for the views in the ViewController. So basically the views that we're planning to use, whether they're labels, image views, even like collection views, a little more complex, but you can use them, table views, things like that. And then we'll add the new views using the addSubview feature, and a function that is going to be called whenever we load the view. And then after that, we're going to set constraints programmatically inside of this the function that we use for the addSubview. And for the bonus, I'm going to show you a concept called don't repeat yourself or dry, which is really popular for good reason in the tech community. Kind of cleans up the code a little bit. And for constraints stuff, there's a lot of repeating yourself, so it's good to learn this, especially when it comes to constraints. All right, let's get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is to go into Xcode, File, New Project. Here we go. It's going to be a single view app, and it's going to be programmatic UI. Let's just call it that. And we don't need to include any of this stuff. Let's save it to the desktop. Okay, so yeah, let's get started with the first step. We're going to go into the AppDelegate. Let's maximize this so you guys can see what's going on. We're going to go into the AppDelegate. Also, the sticky is kind of making this background yellow, and I don't know if it's screwing with you guys, but just in case it is, let's get rid of it. Yes, we go to the AppDelegate. You'll see we have the variable window, which is UI window. And in here, we're going to open it up. We're going to create an instance that gets this working. So, first thing is that we're going to take our window, referring to, of course, the variable up here. I'm going to take window and set it equal to a UI window. And the frame that we're using is the UI screen.main.bounds. In older versions of Swift, it looked a little bit different, but yeah. Next thing, we're going to use the function make key and visible. Shows in the window and makes it the key window. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to create an instance for the layout. And next we're going to set the root ViewController, which is done, if you're in the storyboard, it's done with that little arrow, that points to the main ViewController. But we don't need that, and we don't need you, Swift, or your arrows. But yeah, well, I guess we kind of need Swift. Swift is pretty cool. I'll give it to him. But yeah, the storyboard has some problems. Nonetheless, we're going to go to window.root ViewController. We're going to set that equal to our ViewController here, which if you want to change the name, you could change it right here and then refer to it as that in here. We're just going to keep it same for right now, just ViewController. And we're going to make sure it knows it's a class, adding some parentheses. And so there we have it set up. You can't really see it yet, so I'm not going to run the app or anything, but there, so we're done with the first step. Now the next thing we need to do is go into the main file folder here, and it's going to say in deployment info right here we have main interface. It says main, and we need to just delete that. While you're still in this text field, just hit the enter button, and then it'll register that you did it. And you can also change it in the info.plist, but you know, whatever. This is easier. So there we go, step 2, that easy. So we're going to go into our ViewController here, and we're going to set up the objects that we want to use. So let's say for this one we're just going to have like a text field, and then an image view, and then like a button. So let's do those 3. So going to and so this is basically, instead of linking an IB outlet up to the storyboard, you do this. So it's going to be let main label, that's just what I want to call it, you don't have to use main label, equals UI label, actually not equals, we're trying to set the type here, so we would use colon, and then we're going to set it equal, and then open up some brackets. And at the end of those brackets, put these parentheses. And then inside the brackets is where we're going to set everything up and return the view at the end. So, or in this case, I guess return the label. So we're going to let label equal UI label. And then we're going to say label dot text equals we did it. So hopefully this will show up and we can be happy that we did it. And we're going to return said label. Oh, and also an important thing to put in here for later. It messes up when you're trying to do the constraints, unless you translates auto resizing mask into constraints and you set it equal to false. So you have to do that every time that you set up something like this. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a image view, logo image view. It's going to be UI image view, and we're going to do the same thing with the brackets, parentheses. I just don't like the error messages popping up. You can add the parentheses before, after, or whatever. Let image view equal UI image view. Go ahead and add an image for this image view to refer to. And we're going to go in here and take our logo, put it in the assets folder, which I like to click on just to make sure there's no issues. Let's get it clicked on, and let's drag it into this part. There we go. It is high definition. So, and then in here, we're going to image view.image. It's going to be UI image named. What is it named? Step-by-step logo. Okay. And then going to return said image view. And that one is set up. Next, let's create a button. So we're going to let button, and it's going to be guess UI button. Yeah. And that, let, yeah, let's change this to our button, just because I want to say button down here and I don't want to confuse it with any syntax issues. Let button equal UI button. See, this is an example of the of what happens because you're in a closure here. So this is an example of what happens when you don't put the parentheses. That it pops up these red messages, which I am not a fan of. So we have this button, and the button dot title label, no. Title label dot text is going to be equal to, hey, push me. Okay. Then button dot title label dot color, text color, and equal UI color dot white, and then button dot background color is gonna equal UI color dot blue. Down here we're gonna return set button. There we go. And so that's us completing step 3 there. Next, the next thing is to set up our views. So we're going to go function set up views. And we're going to use the addSubview function. And we're going to add all of our things, including the main label, view.logo image, logo image view, view.addSubview, our button. There we go, all those things are added. Oh, and up here we got to set up views. There we go. So now we're done with that step. Okay, so now we're ready to set the constraints up. And before we do that, here, I just realized that I messed up right here where it says button title label. That's not how you set the title. You just button dot set title. The title is a push me for UI control state normal. Alright, and then here it would be, oh no, background color's right. Pretty sure the font is white default, but I'm going to set the title color to white for dot normal. Alright. Oh, and then in here, just have to do image view dot translates auto resizing mask into constraints like we did up here, and set that equal to false. And then we're going to do that down here. Alright, so now we're going to start setting up the constraints. First thing we want to do is we'll take the image. I want something on top of the image and below the image. So we're going to go ahead and center the image and get that ready. So in order to add a constraint, go to view.addConstraint. It might say this add constraints, which adds multiple, and that's a different ballgame. For right now, we're just going to work on the add constraint. Oop. And then NSLayout constraint. And the item is going to be our logo image view. The attribute is dot height. Oh no, first we want to center it. dot center X related by dot equal. So yeah, I'll explain this afterwards. To view attribute center X. For the multiplier, whenever we're centering things, just set 1 and then constant 0. So basically what we did was we took the logo image view. The attribute is this X center, so the horizontal center. Related by is equal. The other options like greater than, less than. And then to item is the view, so the view is a whole. And the attribute for the view is the center X. So basically the middle of the logo image view should be the same as the middle of the view. And let's see if that worked. Well, it looks like it, but yeah, the picture is massive. So next thing we're going to do is let's center it vertically as well, and then we're going to take the height and the width and change those as well using the constraint feature. Add constraint, NSLayout constraint, item logo image view, attribute center Y, related by equal to item view. Really, you could just copy and paste it and change X to Y. It's the exact same. And next thing we're going to do is add another constraint. And for this one, we're setting the height and width. So you could go in and do it like say frame.size and use a CG size. But once you apply these layout constraints, it says, you know, to hell with the CG size. The auto layout doesn't care and will override any frame size that you set. So for the item, I'm going to go logo image view, attribute height related by equal view attribute height multiplier for those. So we use a 0 multiplier for setting the height, and then the constant is going to be what we actually want the height to be. So let's say 200. See if that worked. There we go. Yeah. Also, I'm going to change this background. Oop. So that we can see the text and everything. We don't have to worry about changing all the text to suit the black background. And then, so I'm going to take my own advice here and just copy and paste this constraint and change all the heights to width. Let's see how that goes. There we go. So we got the first one set up perfect. Now for the two that are up here in the corner. This one is going to main label constraints. Yeah, let's go ahead and set this up. Image constraints. So for the main label, we want it to be north of the step-by-step programming logo. So we're going to add constraint, item main label, attribute bottom. So you're selecting the bottom of the main label right here. That's all you're doing. And equal to logo item image view, or logo image view. The attribute you want to select here is the top of the image view. And for the multiplier, we're going to use 1, and constant is going to be, say, 20. We'll run that. Okay, so there it is. And it looks like the height, we want it to be 20 north, like it would be like up here, you know, instead of down here, like almost parallel to the logo. So why is that happening? And the reason that is happening is because this needs to be -20. When you're trying to move north like that, that is a negative step. When it's on the bottom, you would keep it as so. See, and then now we ran that, and it's up where we want it. So, perfect. Next thing we're going to do is, there we go. I couldn't select from the little picture of me down there. The next thing we're going to do is view.addConstraint. And here we're just going to center this one. So we're just going to copy take main label, view, blah, blah, blah. Drag that in. There we go. Now for the last part of constraints is the button constraints. And view.addConstraint. We're just going to set the height and the width for this one, and we're going to center it horizontally like we did the other ones. So copy and paste that, just like we did earlier. Change width, and for the width, let's do 300. And another thing that we need to do is to make it touch the bottom. So in here we want it like down here. So we're going to select the top of the button. Here we go, ahead of myself. Our button, and I select the top of the button, and it's going to be equal to the bottom of the logo image view. And multiplier 1, and for this one we're going to use a positive number. Let's do 20. And then we also need to center this one horizontally. Yeah, let's copy and paste that. It's a lot of typing. All right, build and run. There we go. And we've set up a very simple view here, just using the ViewController. So if you got this right, give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah, good job. So the next thing we're going to do is, you see how we did a lot of copy and pasting in here. So kind of extra credit thing where we noticed we're repeating ourselves, and we centered it horizontally 3 times. Every single object we use was centered horizontally. So it would make sense to condense the code here so we don't have to copy and paste all the time. And that's a key for coders in every language. It's called DRY, D-R-Y, don't repeat yourself. So if you notice yourself repeating all the time, the same code, then you should probably look like, oh, why am I doing this? Is this something that can be put into a function or an extension and with an input and an output, things like that? And will it work that way? And if it does, then it's probably the best idea to do it that way. So see, in this one, we can definitely put this one into a function. And it's going to be func center horizontally, because we only have one input. So it's the only thing we're changing is this item. And the item is any, because when you select it, it wants an any. Like, it can be anything. So our button, go back to that. And then, so we're going to take this, let's just take this center X and just copy and paste it. I know it really helps you learn to type it, so if you want to do that, it helps. Let's see, for the item, we're going to do our the item input. And that's all we needed to change. And then up here, let's just call this center horizontally. And for the item, we're going to use our button. And then for here, it's going to be center horizontally. And then the item is going to be main label. And the same thing up here. Center horizontally. The item is going to be the logo image view. Okay, no errors. Looks like we're all good here. And let's run, make sure that works. There we go. So it basically got the same result, but it saves you from typing out all that. And if you added anything else that you wanted to center horizontally, you can use that for anything. It's versatile. That's what I like about simplifying the code this way. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got a lot out of it. Leave me some comments, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and take it easy. Yeah, thanks. Oh, and also I'd like to mention that if you want to download this project, I'll put the GitHub link in the description down there. And I hope you guys check it out. Maybe fork it, come up with your own things. There's a lot more to this whole using programmatic UI, setting up everything with the layout constraints. There's another one that's called Visual Format Language, and you can use that. It's a little more complex, so I'm going to get into it in another video later. But yeah, guys, happy coding.